All right, let's get into it. We are cracking open Chapter 2. It's called Interviewing, and it's from the book Counseling-Based Interviewing for SLPs and AUDs. And yeah, that stands for speech-language pathologists and audiologists. Today, we're going to get into exactly why a clinical conversation is so much more than just a chat. It's like a high-wire act.
I mean, you've got to be thinking this, right? How hard can a conversation really be? We talk to people all day long. It's what we do. But here's the twist. A clinical interview, that's not just talking, not even close. It's a completely different beast. It's strategic, it's got a purpose, and honestly, it's way more complex than most of us ever give it credit for.
You see, you've got to think of the clinical interview as like a Swiss Army knife. It's not one thing, it's four things all at once. You're gathering data, you're giving out information, you're actually providing therapy, and you're building a relationship. So no, this is not just a conversation. It's a mission-critical tool.
Right, so it's more than just talking. And let's get one thing straight. This has nothing to do with being a smooth talker or being charming. This is a highly specialized skill. And the whole point, the entire goal, is to build what's called a working alliance. Basically, that's a safe space where a client trusts you enough that real change can actually start to happen.
Okay, this slide really nails the difference. Look, a social conversation, that's you and your buddy shooting the shit over a beer, right? It's a two-way street. A clinical interview is a one-way street. The questions are unilateral. That means I get to ask you about your life, but you don't get to ask about mine. It's formal, it's got a structure, and it has a very, very specific point. It is not a coffee date.
All right, so let's break this down. There are three main goals here. Goal number one, you have to get the story. This is where you put on your detective hat. Your job is to uncover the real, raw, unvarnished truth of what the hell is actually going on.
And to do that, you've got to have a checklist. This is your intel brief. You can't leave until you know these 7 things. What's their take on the problem? When and how did it all start? How's it changed? How is it actively messing up their life? What have they tried so far? How's the family dealing with it all? And this last one, man, this one is everything. What do they actually, honestly expect from you? You got to get these answers.
But listen, here's the secret. Here is where everybody messes up. It is not about just checking those 7 boxes. Anyone can do that. The real art, the thing that separates the pros from the clueless amateurs, is how you ask.
Okay, first rule of interviewing is you do not ask yes-no questions. Seriously, they are absolute conversation killers. A yes-no question just slams the door in your face right when you're trying to get them to open it. You learn absolutely nothing from a yes or a no.
Number 2, don't lead the damn witness. You know when you ask something like, "You don't do that, do you?" Come on. That is just manipulative bullshit. You're not looking for the truth, you're looking for an answer you've already decided on. It's a trash technique that gets you trash information. End of story.
And oh my God, this one, please, for the love of everything holy, don't talk too much. This is probably the #1 mistake that rookies make. Just remember the 80-20 rule. The client should be doing 80% of the talking, which means you need to shut up and listen. Your job isn't to give a speech, it's to guide the conversation. So, if you're not supposed to do all that, what are you supposed to do? You use the funnel technique. This is your secret weapon. You start out super broad, like a big wide-angle camera lens. Tell me what's been going on. Then you start to zoom in. You get more specific, you narrow down the details, and finally, you dig even deeper with follow-ups, zooming all the way in on what really matters.
Okay, so you've played detective, you've used the funnel, you've got the story, now your job totally pivots. It's time for goal number 2, you have to deliver the news. And this is all about sharing what you know, test results, opinions, without sounding like a robot or a medical dictionary.
And to do that right, you got to learn to decode what people are really asking you. Because they ask 3 kinds of questions. Sometimes it's about content, just give them the facts. Sometimes it's about opinion, they want you to agree with them. But the real tricky ones, the ones that trip everyone up, are affect questions. On the surface, they look like they're asking for a fact, but what they're really asking for is reassurance. They're asking about a feeling.
And this right here is a perfect pro-level response. A parent asks, "Did my divorce cause my kid stutter?" See, that's an affect question. An amateur answers the fact. A pro answers the feeling. This response doesn't say yes or no. It says, "I hear the guilt in your question, and you're not alone in feeling that way." See the difference? That's how you build a real connection.
And that connection, well, that brings us right to our third and, let's be honest, our most important goal of all. You have to be a human. This is the counseling piece.
It's all about making a genuine, empathetic connection with the person sitting right in front of you.
This takes us right back to that working alliance we mentioned. You have to think of this as the foundation of the entire house. It is the absolute bedrock of everything you're trying to do. If you don't have mutual respect, if you don't have trust, if you don't have genuine empathy, then none of your fancy techniques, none of your data, none of it matters at all.
So what does this all boil down to? It's about learning to hear the feeling behind the words. It's hearing the music, not just the lyrics. So when a client says, "Who would want to marry someone like me?" they are not asking for dating tips. They are telling you they feel rejected. And your job is to hear that feeling and reflect it back to them so they know you actually get it.
But you can't hear the feeling if you're not even listening, right? So let's get real for a minute. Let's talk about you. How good of a listener are you? Like, for real. Because I think most of us, we walk around thinking we're great listeners, and most of us are dead wrong.
Here are 4 ways you're probably a pretty shitty listener. There's non-listening. You're just completely zoned out. Lights are on, nobody's home. There's partial listening. You catch a few words, but you totally miss the point. Then there's tape recorder listening. You can repeat back every word they said, but you have zero idea what it meant. But the big one, the one we are all guilty of, is rehearsing. You're not listening at all, you're just waiting for them to take a breath so you can jump in with your brilliant point. Come on, you know you do it. We all do. So what's the fix? What's the antidote to being a shitty listener? Well, there's only one, and it's not easy. It's empathy. Not as a fluffy feeling, but as an active, conscious practice of trying to identify with and understand what someone else is feeling. It is a skill. It's a muscle you have to build. And that really brings us to the whole point. This quote says it all. This is the whole damn explainer in one sentence. It's not about the paperwork. It's not about the procedures. The secret to taking care of a client is genuinely actually caring for the client as a person. That human connection is the single most powerful tool you will ever have. So I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on. In your life, not just at work, but with your partner, with your family, with your friends, are you actually listening to understand them, or are you just rehearsing, just waiting for your turn to talk? Really think about it.